the participation of women in apprenticeships. So it's a sort of a double barrel. This is International Women's Day, hence the focus on young women, but it's also, I think, about the potential and the challenges of apprenticeship to really harness talent from across the cohorts in all occupations. So I'm not going to say any more at this point about that, except to, just to say that gender differences hit you in the statistics, and that's both a challenge and something to interrogate, but also to say thank you in advance to all three of our speakers. And I will just get you basically just say hello, and then I'll do the proper introduction for Becca and so on. So we've got Becca Gooch from EngineeringUK, we've got Pritti Shoker from the RSC, and we've got Rachel Melvin from Southwark Council. That's my council, by the way. So if you could, each of you, just say hi, and then I will introduce Becca properly and hand over to her to tell us about EngineeringUK. So Becca.
Hi, hi, yeah. Do you want me to introduce myself?
Just say hello and wave. We seem to have a camera at the moment. So do we have a camera? Hi. So Becca, thank you. Pritti. Hi. And finally, Rachel.
Hi.
Hi. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So Becca, can I start by introducing you, just saying how delighted we are to have you here, that you're the Senior Research Manager at EngineeringUK, and you're going to tell us a bit about EngineeringUK, Fit for the Future Inquiry, educational pathways into engineering, and associated subjects.
Yeah.
To you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks for having me, and hi everyone. So yes, Baroness said, I'm Becca. I'm a Senior Research Manager at EngineeringUK. We're a not-for-profit organisation with a mission to enable more young people from all backgrounds to be informed and inspired to progress into engineering, particularly kind of to shore up the workforce now and in the future, especially as we head towards net zero goals, because these skills are only more and more in demand. I lead the policy research functions. We look at everything, education, skills, workforce, with regards to engineering. Yeah, ultimate aim to get more and more diverse young people into engineering. So you mentioned the Fit for the Future inquiry. We're working on that. It's led by Lord Knight and Lord Willis, and the full title is Fit for the Future, Growing and Sustaining Engineering and Technology Apprenticeships for Young People. Quite a mouthful. So you talked a bit about the kind of traditional apprenticeship routes, and I think in lots of people's minds engineering would be one of those, but we have still been seeing a decline in starts, especially in the lower levels and kind of more towards technician routes. We've seen an increase in
I think unlimited.
And then yeah, and I already mentioned the net zero, so that's kind of the background to how we've been coming at this inquiry. So we closed the call for evidence on that last week, and we got nearly 100 responses, so it's obviously a pretty hot topic for people in the sector. So we've just started to analyse and get to grips with the full picture, but kind of not 100% sure where we are with it yet. What we do know from the official data is that there's been a 9% decline in engineering-related apprenticeships in recent years, and it's particularly acute in engineering and manufacturing technologies as a sector subject area, which has had a 34% decline, and we've seen ICT-related ones pick up, especially degree apprenticeships in that area. I mentioned the low-level apprenticeships, but the decline in that is also shifting the age profile. So we're seeing far fewer 16 to 18-year-olds starting apprenticeships as part of their FE qualifications, people kind of tending to come into them later. The good news is that the proportion of engineering-related apprenticeship starts by women has increased since 2014, but this is still only 14% of starts in engineering-related apprenticeships are by women, so it's still ridiculously low, and about 50% of starts across all subjects are women. So we are really having an issue getting girls through this route. But they are more inclined towards the more kind of ICT subject areas. Level 4 and 5 and degree apprenticeships are appealing more to girls. So whilst we want to try and pick up apprenticeship starts across the board, it's obviously, we don't want to be pushing just the lower level ones, given that girls seem to be very interested in the higher level ones. It's not an apprenticeships only problem. Unfortunately, in engineering, only 18% of those studying engineering at university and only 16.5% of the engineering and technology workforce are women. So it's not like it's a unique problem unique to apprenticeships, but it is a bit more prevalent. So lots of work to do to improve the number of women and other underrepresented groups in engineering and technology, which apprenticeships is a really essential part. We'll be out with our findings and recommendations from the inquiry in the coming months, so keep an eye out for that, but I'm going to hold off on making any concrete asks until we've got to the end of that. So that's probably everything for now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I won't throw it open to Q&A until we've had all three presentations, but I have a couple of questions myself. So thank you very much. Pritti, can I hand over to you now to talk about the Royal Shakespeare Company, where you're the apprenticeship and training manager, and we're very interesting to hear about what the RSC has been doing, the value of women apprenticeships in the arts sector, and particularly the key asks that you may have of government in terms of the way apprenticeship with particular relevance to gender parity in the sector.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Pritti Shoker. I would like to give you all a warm welcome today. I'm delighted to be here for International Women's Day to celebrate the contribution of women in apprenticeships and skills. I am the apprenticeship and training manager at the Royal Shakespeare Company, who feels very lucky to be able to look after training and development opportunities for colleagues to upskill, reskill, and then the very important project of teaching theatre, for which the main aims are opening up training and development to populations that are underrepresented in our workforce, but also within the arts sector, and then opportunities we provide for collaborators and participants to learn and develop. It's great to see some colleagues here from Warwick Manufacturing Group, University of Warwick, where I previously worked on supporting the development of apprenticeship programs. I present with great gratitude, being a woman from a Sikh Indian background with lived experience of impact that has impacted in terms of stereotypes and barriers, and can have it, and what it can have in terms of early careers and learning options within this sector. Next slide, please. Thank you. Happy International Women's Day. It's great to shed a light on the theme, Embrace Equity Together. People start from different places, so true inclusion and belonging requires equitable action. Everyone, everywhere can play a part. We currently have 11 apprentices at the RSC, with an additional 5 starting in April, and have 28 in total by spring 2024. We are proud to be sharing the journey of our apprentice, Kate Bradley, who is part of the automation department, a team previously where all of the roles were occupied by men. Next slide, please.
In simple terms, I fly scenery and people using winches and computer programming. It's really fun, really fun. Right from the first day, I was thrown in and doing the proper job. Just about to start my college course as well, learning and getting paid to do a really cool job. Didn't think I'd get this apprenticeship because I didn't have the experience necessarily that I thought I needed. But I just said I need someone to teach me from the ground up, and they said they were willing to give me the opportunity to learn. Be open to trying everything. So my apprenticeship's in automation, but I'm also learning a little bit of LX, a little bit of sound, a little bit of video, a little bit of stage. Just be open to every opportunity.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have a culture where all apprentices are valued, and opening up barriers to engage in apprenticeship opportunities is our highest priority. So inspired by the concept of teaching hospitals, centres of excellence for healthcare that also provides medical training for future and current health professionals, we believe there are strong parallels with the way we work now and how we plan to work in the future, developing, evolving and embedding the concept of the RSC as a teaching theatre into our working culture with apprenticeships as a route. We regularly review the development of our apprenticeship programme via our Teaching Theatre Leadership Working Group, which covers key concepts to make apprentice experience the best it possibly can be, with representation from our apprentices, colleagues from creative and cultural skills, collaborative steering groups with our training providers, and networking opportunities for those involved. Ensuring that early career opportunities enable progression for people from backgrounds that are underrepresented in the arts and cultural sector. We take positive action from our Next Generation programme experiences, which gives talented young people and disadvantaged backgrounds the chance to explore a career in acting, directing, or working backstage. Ensuring we are opening doors, barriers, not just for young people, but also for individuals who are experiencing challenges towards a pathway. I will now be sharing the journey of our apprentice Lisa Gaunt, a 50-something-year-old mother. Next slide, please.
My husband and I had a theatre company, the first sort of regional comedy club outside of London. It was really exciting. Then I had a family, and much as you think that you can go back to work after your children are little, I didn't, and then later I couldn't. So here I am, age 50-something, really needing some good, solid experience in a job. Learning about the bigger organisation, the wider organisation. So yeah, here I am. The apprenticeship is giving us a really broad skill set, so we'll see how it goes. It's really exciting. I'm really enjoying myself. Yes, it's great. Learning lots, meeting lots of new people.
Thank you, Oliver. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have reflected on what the government and industry can do to advance these great apprenticeship opportunities. So the continuation of development work, breaking barriers, stereotypes of apprenticeships, the sharing and passion, the excitement that comes from valuing and supporting differences, the regular review of apprenticeship standards being fit for purpose, particularly in the arts sector, and when in development with useful timescales. There have been some standards that have trailblazer groups that have started that have either been put on hold or restarted again, but have taken a long time to get approved. Regular trend of cost of living versus apprentice salary and guidance and support around that. Thank you for listening. My colleague Narinder Mantle, who's also on the call, will be sharing our apprenticeship website details and also a video of our apprenticeship programme. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. That was fabulous. That was very interesting. And finally, I'd like to hand over to Rachel Melvin, who is Organisational Development Consultant for Apprenticeships and Employment Pathways at Southwark Council, and ask her to talk about her role, ongoing work in Southwark with women and apprentices, and again, what Southwark Council would like to ask of the government to achieve gender parity.
Lovely, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And pretty not sure how I follow that with a presentation and a video. That was really informative and really engaging. Thank you so much. So a little bit about my role. So I'm an interim OD consultant for Southwark Council. I was initially brought in to really look at apprenticeships and utilise the apprenticeship levy, coming from a training provider background, an Ofsted nominee, and also employer kind of providers. The key focus for me was really offering a quality apprenticeship and also a quality employee experience. So what we've kind of looked at over the last, well, I've been there nearly a year now within Southwark Council, is really initially looking at 16 to 19-year-olds and young people and bringing them into pathways, including internships, and then obviously those progression pathways into apprenticeships. But first of all, what I realised I needed to do was really engage the workforce. So that is really coaching and supporting line managers across all of the service areas, first of all. So what I did was I put a catalogue of apprenticeships together which basically made it a really easy access for managers, those who wanted to recruit apprentices, so they could really see what apprenticeships were out there. So you'll agree, on the Institute for Apprenticeships, there are hundreds and thousands of apprenticeships out there, and we really started to narrow down what was best suited for the job description, and also the level of the apprentice and the qualification coming into that job role. The other thing that we really looked at was the recruitment and selection. So we've introduced an online application form, which really does focus on skills, especially those transferable skills where we can bring people in and where they've maybe done voluntary work, or really are able to kind of answer the questions and evidence those skills that we are looking for, that we could place them into that job role. What we've also done with that in terms of recruitment and selection is introduce assessment centres. And now I love assessment centres, being qualified to teach and assess at the same time. I've kind of really upskilled and developed our managers to really embrace assessment centres, and they're a really fun day. And what we've looked at again is being able to demonstrate those skills. And often what we find is where a candidate may not have been selected for that particular apprenticeship, they've been observed by other managers, you know, out of maybe 15, 20 kind of candidates and 12 managers, where they will actually still get a job offer, which is incredible. Just kind of touching on internships in kind of these progression pathways. The reason why we offer internships of a kind of 6 to 12 week duration, it allows candidates to kind of test the water in those areas. So we're in the process at the moment of setting up a construction pathway. So that will be work experience into an internship, and then obviously being able to choose which type of career they're looking for in construction and which pathway is best suited. They will be mentored, and obviously the coaching support throughout that program is there, and obviously it is paid at the same time. We're really proud to say just before Christmas we had our levy transfer strategy signed off by our cabinet members, and it went through quite a stringent approval process. But we are now supporting smaller businesses within Southwark, and we have so far since January been able to support 2 female apprentices in the tech world, which is great. And then just some kind of other data, our most recent campaign from June to November 2022 demonstrated our commitment to increase in female representation across the service areas. So 34 apprentices that were hired, 47 of those were female, and including service areas of accountancy, electricians and construction, which was brilliant. So a couple of things then in terms of what Southwark are doing in terms of local government and achieving gender parity. So what's been implemented within the last kind of 6 months are our diverse interview panels. So basically the policy is 3 members, different ethnicity and also gender, across all of the levels and all of the roles, you know, completely across the council. It provides the opportunity for the candidates to relate to the panel members. It increases their confidence for the candidates, and then also it demonstrates our openness, fairness and transparency for that recruitment stage. Just touching on kind of the grading of our roles, so all of our job roles across the council, they are based on level and job description, so not the individuals. So they are graded, and that is the salary set for that role. And one of our key campaigns is a positive representation, including language and positive representation of females in our marketing material. So the way we were able to get, you know, achieve a 47% of females in the kind of construction, accountancy, and those fields that are generally male-dominated areas was down to our current apprentices and kind of the marketing campaigns that we run during the summer. And then one of the things that we're really working on across all London councils is we attend London Council's conference. So we had one 2 weeks ago where we share best practice. We bring along apprentices, and there was a female apprentice there with a disability, absolutely succeeding, secured a permanent role within one of the London boroughs, but really confidently spoke in front of the mayor, councillors, and it was a really great event where we were empowering you know, these female apprentices following their achievement. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. That was great. I'm going to throw it open for questions first to fellow parliamentarians and then more widely, but I would actually like to take chair's privilege, Rachel, if I may, and ask a specific question, because One of the things that I'm interested in, and I'm not sure this is just Southwark or London councils generally, is the fact that you have focused so much on young apprentices, whereas one of the things that has been happening with levy paying institutions particularly is this shift towards older apprentices. And given that actually it's among younger apprentices that you actually have an underrepresentation of women, without sort of, could you sort of say something really quickly about that, whether that was a sort of a conscious, members level decision, London-wide decision, or just?
No, so I mean, it's based on young people being not in education or employment, and leaving schools and coming into the council of those entry level jobs. What we have noticed is, obviously, since the apprenticeship levy, we have provided more opportunities for females and the higher apprenticeships already who are already employed with the council. So that includes degree apprenticeships in leadership and management. It also includes building control and our chartered surveyors. So we have seen an increase in our existing workforce of females going for those qualifications and being encouraged to do so. What I'm looking to do this summer is bring in a returnship program where we are looking at females who have been out of work for a period of time but have got the skill set, and we just need to engage them to, or draw out those skills rather, that haven't been used for a period of time, and then align that to an apprenticeship program. That's in the pipeline for kind of a summer launch.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I'd like to throw it open first of all to fellow parliamentarians, and to Chair first.
Yeah, so I suppose, so my name's Charlotte, I'm the Labour co-chair of this APPG and the MP for Warrington North. Two questions for the panel, really. I was very interested in what you just said there, Rachel, about the internship scheme as a way of allowing people to try apprenticeships before taking them on, because I think one of the things that I sort of have seen, particularly among women apprentices, regardless of what level they're going in at, is often, particularly if they're of childbearing age, what it means when they're trying to go on maternity leave during their apprenticeship. That can often be the point at which they drop out, but then they might be left with no qualification despite having spent 2 or 3 years working towards an accredited thing. So what kind of take up are you getting on the internships? Do you find that people maybe do more than one internship in a few different places before picking? That would be interesting to know. And secondly, in terms for everyone on the panel, in terms of apprenticeships available, again, from my own constituency, something that comes up quite a lot is a lack of specifically suitable apprenticeship schemes in a number of sectors. So I have a number of textile manufacturers, for example, who say that there are no apprenticeship schemes in textile manufacturing, so they all pay the levy but get nothing back from it. Do you find that the apprenticeships that are available are of the type and the skills and things that you need, or are you having to ask people to do apprenticeships in things that you perhaps don't want them to be doing apprenticeships in because you can't find an accredited scheme in what you would actually like them to be doing, if that makes sense?
Thank you. So I think there's kind of 3 points there. So do prompt me if I answer two and forget the third. So with our internship program, absolutely, what it does is, as I say, it's 6 to 12 weeks, and it provides that stepping stone for people to come in and test the water in that area. And our last internship campaign, we actually advertised for 10 roles and we offered 14. Again, that was due to the calibre of candidates that were coming in. And during those internships, we did have some people who were returning to the workplace, career changes. So, for this particular internship program, the age of the candidates was 25 plus, because that's just the assessment centre, the skills that we were looking for, and obviously how they perform throughout the day and the suitability for the roles that we had for the internship program. In terms of our apprenticeships and where you're saying kind of females on apprenticeships and leaving for having a baby, that makes me so sad to hear. One of the key things that I have have made really sure when we are inducting our apprentices is that the managers have an induction at the same time, so they're understanding what their responsibility is in terms of supporting the apprentice regardless of age, regardless of gender. But you know, we don't know what's going to happen on an apprenticeship journey 2 years down the line. So by understanding all of the funding rules of apprenticeships, and again running apprenticeship programs nationally, there's pause in learning, break in learning, and these are in the funding rules and guidelines to make sure that females aren't being disadvantaged when on an apprenticeship and decide to have a baby, you know, part way through the apprenticeship. So again, that is educating managers how to deal with that situation, and also what support is in place, which is currently me within the council to advise, you know, pause the funding, but also make sure contracts and everything are all in order at the same time. The final part, if I'm right in terms of what you're saying with apprenticeships and what's available, the key thing we have to focus on here is the job description. So where previously the way that apprenticeships were assessed was very much based on kind of criteria, now 80% of the apprenticeship is actually the job role. So you have to be committed for that 80%, and the job role has to fully align with the apprenticeship standard that's being on offer. Otherwise, we're automatically disadvantaging the apprentice ahead of them being able to generate a portfolio, really evidence their competence in their job role, and then obviously build those steps for endpoint assessment. So the first thing that I do is, where I have a manager who says they have a vacancy for an apprentice, or they'd like to take one on, is I immediately ask for the job description, whether it's an existing role, have they recruited in it before, and we have an open discussion about what skills, what it is they're really looking at, and I will generally propose a couple of options that would be suited for that job description.
Becca, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, completely. We really see that as an issue. I mean, completes aren't high. I talked about the stats I used for starts, but people aren't completing their apprenticeships anywhere near like the levels you would hope. I mean, it really, like I said, it really depends on the sector. But we've seen some examples of some very big businesses essentially establishing their own. So I think it's called Trailblazer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so BAE Systems, for example, set up the Trailblazer people for the non-destructive testing apprenticeship because they wanted a route through and there wasn't one that existed. So they created that, and then obviously other people can run apprenticeships using that framework. But that requires someone the size of BAE Systems to have the time, the knowledge, the wherewithal to do that. So yeah, we are hearing that they're often not actually aligned to kind of quite what employers want. So yeah, it is a real problem.
I'm conscious of time running out.
Sorry.
Shall I take two questions and then see how the panel want to reply to both of them?
Well, mine is a sort of crack record question that I ask every time, which is relating to getting more apprenticeships in SMEs and small businesses. And both Rachel and Pritti referred to this in a way. Pritti obviously is a small business in a sense. But are there any specific issues affecting making it more difficult for women in particular to find apprenticeships in small firms, or making it harder for small firms to appoint women to apprenticeships?
And shall I take the second? Should you take the second question as well?
Yes. If I can go back to engineering, and you mentioned stats of 14, you say 14%. Do you think there's an issue with schools' career advice? You know, starting at that age. Yes. And we can look at that as well. And obviously, again, on engineering, do you find that part where you lose those apprenticeships for various reasons, or what is the percentage that actually finish the apprenticeship schemes? Thank you.
Start with you, then go to Pritti, and then if there's time.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head the percentage finishing. It is slightly higher for engineering apprenticeships than it is average, but I think it's only like 70 or something.
I think it's about 68.
Yeah, I mean, very much. Yeah. So it's not high enough, although we are hearing some. It's a bit complicated with people getting accredited through the official I can't remember the thing, the official qualifications related to their field. Kind of once they've got that,
once they've got that, and they don't finish.
Yeah. So we are seeing that. careers advice 100%. It's a huge issue. We have a finding that 10% of STEM teachers think that boys are more
stimulated the interest,
but they think they're more think boys are more engineering is a career for boys, not girls, and that's their teachers, so that is obviously getting fed through that route, and obviously societally. And then on the women into SMEs, I don't think there's a particular problem necessarily with getting women into SMEs. The others might have something else, but there's the just general issues with getting apprenticeships into SMEs, the time. Rachel talked a lot about the line management, manager support and time, which I think is key and something that's just a lot harder to find if you're especially if you're a micro or small business.
Are there many SMEs in the engineering sector, and are they are they taking on apprenticeships
at a lower rate than big businesses?
So I'm non-exec for the Manufacturing Technology Centre, the High Value Manufacturing Catapult, and Lloyds Bank sponsor their levies, the levy transfer that's been talked about, to enable the SMEs to get through that first year, because we take the apprentices for the whole year and they can't afford to be paying for somebody that they haven't actually got.
So Lloyds pay for the.
So they have some of their levy, because obviously they're not paying levy.
Yes.
So
This
it goes across.
so important for the supply chain. Hayley Pell's Institute, the motor industry, we have a lot of the same issues, especially with careers and advice for people coming within the sector. But once that return is made back to the Treasury, it goes into anything. It could be important things, you know, potholes, buildings, this, that, and the other. But if the larger levy payers could be better supported to pass that levy transfer down their supply chain, it would be so transformative for SME uptake for apprenticeships.
Well, I think this is probably a whole other session. So I'm very conscious of time. Pritti, if I could ask you to just, if you have a particular specific comment in response to the topic that we've had, and then hopefully we'll have time for at least one other question.
Yes, sure. So in terms of development of apprenticeships and pre-work that we do to support permanent withdrawal, we do a pre-apprenticeship program via the route of supported internship, where we work with local schools with additional learning needs, but we also have a learning and national partnership team that runs the Next Generation programme, which I spoke briefly about in my presentation, but that's working with associate schools from underrepresented areas, but also working with stakeholders, and shout out the arts, to have those summer schools, but also have residentials throughout the year, where we're giving opportunities for those that are interested to spend some time in each department, both backstage and across the organisation of RSC.
Okay, splendid. Any more questions from anybody?
Well, I would have thought the RSC would have had less problem in recruiting girls, because obviously an awful lot of girls love acting and the theatre, don't they, and dressing up and all the rest of it. But it's whether that then translates into proper training, you know, and that's the question. And I so agree on, I have a daughter who read engineering and was always, you know, at university, and she was always singled out by the tutors because there was this room full of men and then she'd walk in. You know. I think it's really difficult, but again, it should be attractive to women because it's practical stuff, isn't it? Which girls are good at. They like practical stuff. But how we actually, but we go back again to careers and to staff and to teachers actually saying to them, this is possible. We've got a big job on that, haven't we, I think.
I'm conscious.
Yes, and parents.
I'm conscious I have 1 minute, at which point we will probably be thrown out of the room. Is that correct?
Probably, yes.
So I think, as always in these sessions, we could have filled another hour very, very happily. And of course, some of the things that have come up are girl specific or female specific. Others are to do with the complete demented design of the levy, but that's a whole other discussion. But also, I mean, I have to say, genuinely inspiring from all three of you about the things that you are doing.
Really interesting.
Thank you very, very much. And a very specific request actually to the Secretariat. I mean, when the Fit for the Future inquiry reports, could you make sure we know? So thank you very, very much, everybody. I'm very sorry we couldn't go on any longer. And I don't know whether Chair, Oliver, you have anything else to underline? Just get my notes. What am I supposed to say?
Thank you very much. That's the end of the meeting, and my apologies for our technical issues with the camera. But yes, thank you to all our speakers.
Oh, and please.
Yes, and please do tweet at Apprentice APPG. But thank you all very much for coming.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.